Okay, so we continue to talk about two additional sets of formulas, product to sum and sum to product formula. Okay, so all these formulas, okay, so come from where? Come from what? The sum and the difference formulas. Okay, the product to sum formulas. Okay, so let's review. Sine alpha plus beta equal to sine alpha cosine beta plus cosine alpha sine beta. Sine alpha minus beta, sine alpha cosine beta minus cosine alpha sine beta. This is the sum and the difference formula, yeah? Okay, so when we look at this, sum product to sum formula, what happens? If you add these two formulas together, what do you get? Sine alpha plus beta plus sine alpha minus beta. You add this one cancel, so you have 2 sine alpha cosine beta. Yeah, and how could you get this? If you divide by 2, on both sides, what happens? This is this formula. Okay, and similarly, what will you do if you subtract? If you subtract the top and the bottom, what do you have? You have what? Sine of alpha plus beta minus what? Sine alpha minus beta equal to what? 2 cosine alpha sine beta. And similarly, you can move the 2 on the other side. Yeah. So you will get the cosine alpha sine beta. So these two come from what? The sum and the difference formula of the sine. What happen? Where does these two come from? The sum and difference formula of cosine. Similarly, cosine alpha plus beta equal to what? Cosine alpha cosine beta minus sine alpha sine beta, and then cosine alpha minus beta equal to what? Cosine alpha cosine beta plus sine alpha sine beta. What will you do from here? You can add, you can have what? Subtract to get all these formulas. Are you with me? Okay, so this is product to sum formulas. Where does this thing come from? The sum and the difference formulas. This is why I emphasize again and again, sum and difference formula are so important. Okay, so if you remember these formulas, and then if we wanted to do the following example, product as a sum or difference, sine, what happens with sine and sine? Sine, what will it be? So it will be what? A half cosine. Okay, so there is one example is very important. So which one should we use to subtract here? We should use what? The bottom to subtract the top, because we want the sine alpha sine beta is positive. So this is a half cosine what? Alpha minus beta subtract the cosine alpha plus beta. And because why is cosine alpha minus beta comes first? Because cosine alpha plus beta and cosine alpha minus beta, the sign is not the same with plus minus here. It's opposite. So in order to do this product to sum formula, you have to do the opposite too. Means instead of alpha plus beta sub plus or minus sine of alpha minus beta, you will do alpha minus beta minus and plus. Okay, so this is the formula. So cosine alpha minus beta, cosine alpha plus beta. This means cosine 5x minus 2x, 5x plus 2x, cosine 3x minus cosine 7x. So that's pretty easy once you know the formula. So write product as, this is what? Cosine, what happens? You also wanted what? Cosine plus cosine. Okay, so another thing is, do we ever have a sum that cosine plus sine? No. Okay, so we only have cosine minus cosine, cosine plus cosine. So we do not have a formula with cosine plus sine. Okay, so you need to be careful. For the cosine, it will be cosine plus cosine. Okay, sine is what? Cosine minus cosine again. Okay, so this is, after you know the formula, then this is pretty straightforward. Okay, so the sum to product formula. Okay, so the sum to product formula, where does this thing come from? Actually, this is from what? Product to sum formula. So when you have sine of alpha cosine beta, yeah, so on the right side it looks ugly, A and B here. So from the top formula, what do we remember? Sine alpha cosine beta, what do we have here? It will be what? Sine of alpha A plus B, yeah? Plus sine of what? A minus B, no? Yeah, so this cancel. You have what? Sine of A plus B plus sine of A minus B. What is A here? Alpha plus beta over 2 plus alpha minus beta over 2 plus sine of what? Alpha plus beta over 2 minus alpha minus beta over 2. Yeah, so if you plus, the beta cancelled. If you minus, the alpha cancelled. So what do you have? Sine of alpha over 2, 2 alpha over 2 is what? Alpha plus what? Sine of beta, which will be the first formula. Okay, and then you can use the rest of them, use the product to sum formula to find the rest of them. Okay, so then so for sine plus sine, what does this thing equal to? 2 sine what? Alpha plus beta over 2 cosine alpha minus beta over 2. Yeah, okay, so then you do it slowly, and you will get the answer. Yeah, so after you know the formula, it's really straightforward. Cosine plus cosine is 2 cosine cosine. Okay, so the formula is more important than the calculation. The calculation is pretty straightforward once you know the formula. So that's really good. Okay, so that's this section. So for this section, what do you need to be careful? You have to know this what? Product to sum formula, a sum to product formula. Know these formulas in your mind, and then